This person wants to get a mainstream loan through ANZ or a development property. The property is a residential property, so residential in nature. So it's a single house to do a 1 into 3 lot subdivision, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. And ANZ or the broker has said that even a low doc option such as Latrobe or, there's other low doc people, BlackRock, who else do I know, Pepper, I think they did low doc. Who else have I got low doc from? There's another major group, Liberty Financial. So anyway, the likes of those guys, it sounds like it's not possible. I personally am a little bit shocked by this, because the reason being is I just recently settled a low doc loan with Latrobe. I didn't do it through Matt Kerr, so it's through Matt Kerr, who's a general resi broker, and that's who I've referred as part of the program. What my suggestion would be is, and this is just of my experience, I recommend you guys use Chris Wright if you're doing anything that's a bit more creative, sort of outside the box. Chris's team did a loan through Latrobe for me. To be honest, I probably could have gone direct, but it's a lot easier to go through a broker. They do a lot of the legwork. So, you pay them whatever their fee is. I think it's 1%. But to be honest, the 1% fee a lot of the time just gets the deal done. So I did a low doc loan. It was 1.7, I think it was, at the start of the year. Or when did I sell that property? Probably wasn't even. It was probably June. So I probably settled that property in, it was the week of the birth of my child. So late May. So in late May, I did a low doc loan on a development property. It was subject to due diligence. So this has a subject to subdivision approval. That is quite specific, but I honestly would be surprised if a bank would, refuse that. However, in saying that, is the settlement subject to subdivision approval, or is the property being unconditional subject to subdivision approval? And if that is an issue, which I wouldn't have thought it was, but maybe they've tightened down on the terms that they're reading. And finance can change all the time. So the property I settled middle of the year, that was 5 months ago. This is low doc. I've settled other ones since then, but not through a low doc facility. They've been through commercial. So look, they might have tightened their policies in the last 5 months. So look, if it is an issue, what I would probably do would be to waive, if you're happy with that clause and happy to go ahead, maybe just do an amendment to the contract and get rid of it if it's going to be an issue. If it means a difference between a commercial loan and a resi loan, just strike it out. Don't make it subject to subdivision approval, but make sure you're comfortable with doing that, obviously. But yeah, that would be my suggestion on that. Otherwise, probably just approach another broker / another bank, because like you said, commercial rates are 8 or 9% versus a low doc rate, which is probably 5 at the moment, or maybe a bit more, maybe 5.5. So yeah, the difference is 3.5%, which can be pretty significant. Graham, I didn't actually share your name, but are you happy for me to share your name as part of this? Is that all right? Or you've just replied to everybody, so by default, I've shared your name. And then you had another question. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Well, it's too late now. I've already said your name, but we could snip that bit out for uploading the recording. So yeah, I think it's pretty doable, but what you've got to consider with a low doc loan is when a residential valuer comes out to value the property, and I've done a couple of low doc loans before, when the residential valuer values the property, he values it at its highest and best use. for that valuation, which the lender will normally instruct, or if you're instructing, you've got to instruct him to value it on residential purposes. They'll do a search on the property to see whether there's any development applications, and if there is, they'll write highest and best use is a development site, whether it's true or not. But basically, a resi valuer will just discard it. So the properties I have settled in LODOC, and there's been a few, I haven't lodged development applications on those properties. I've held off, lodged the finance application, and then gotten all that through, and then lodged the development application. But obviously your finance application only lasts for so long. So you just need to weigh up, I suppose, the cost and, return reward. And maybe you go and get the approval for finance, or get the, valuation before you lodge the application, get it through, make sure it's fine, and then lodge the application the next day, because you can still settle the property with an application lodged. It's just that the valuer will do a search on the property to see whether there's an application on it. So did that help? So if you want to get a resi loan, I would approach another broker, approach other LODOC lenders. If that's going to be an issue, and the brokers should be able to tell you up front, if that's going to be an issue with that able to lodge for subdivision, I'd get it struck out if you're comfortable with doing that to get the LODOC. And in addition, I'd get the valuer or the valuation before you lodge a subdivision approval. You're going to definitely need to do that. It's the only way to do LODOC, unfortunately, with resi. You don't rate Matt Kerr. Look, I don't know Graham, I don't know your, finances and where properties sit and all that stuff. My experience with Matt, and I've had him do a couple of loans for me personally. My experience is, if it's a straight mainstream resi or a small development, he's been great. Otherwise, you need to step it up a notch. So, maybe he can't help you with that. So, it just may be too far out of his reach. So I don't know the full picture around, what else is happening in the background. I can only speak on my experience, and, I wouldn't refer him if I didn't think he was good. So you just might need to talk to somebody who's more creative, like Chris, to get that one across the line. Chris only does 1 million plus. How much is it? What's the loan? 600. Have a chat to Chris anyway and see whether he'll do it. Otherwise, if Matt can't help you, if Chris can't help you, I wish I had a third person, but it's going to be, if Matt can't help you, I've dealt with a lot of residential brokers, and most of them don't or won't understand that situation, like, just period. So you're kind of into that commercial broker space. And if you want to try and get it to work with a residential loan, I really hope Chris is going to be able to help you, because there's not many people that will play in that space. And I'm just being honest, you've obviously got, other stuff happening, which I know you do, and you're trying to get a resi loan across the line for an early stage development. So I reckon Matt would do it. Just make those couple of suggestions. If he can't, go to Chris and just tell him to do it. And just tell him that Adam said so. That way you'll be sorted.